And give it up for Pete Buttigieg.
Thank you. Wow, thanks so much for the chance to be with you. Are you excited to be the center of the political universe right now? I hope you're enjoying it. I hope you're making the most of it. I was shaped by an institute of politics not unlike this one, and it gave me a chance to be exposed to leaders, speakers, thinkers, people who were shaping the politics when I was first understanding how the world worked and forming my concept of the world. And back then I thought the stakes couldn't be higher than the way things seemed in 2000, 2002, 2004. But you are emerging into the political world at an unbelievable time of consequence for this country. So much so, sometimes I wonder if we talk about it in proportions that make it as hard to see the scale of as if you're standing 6 inches away from the Hancock building trying to understand how big it is. And so I'm spending a lot of my time and energy trying to think about how to bring the cosmic questions that are at stake in American politics back a little closer to earth, especially because my philosophy of politics is that the only reason any of it matters is that it affects everyday life. And one thing I would encourage you to be attuned to as you see an extraordinary range of speakers come before you, and as you watch the speeches that are going on in the convention hall tonight, is that relationship between the general and the particular. One of the things I've been trying to do in politics, for example, is to change the conversation about freedom. Because as a Democrat, I came to believe that my Republican friends had sort of cornered the market on the politics of freedom by getting us to think that government is the only thing that can make you unfree. And so if freedom is being constrained by taxation or regulation, they're all over it. But they miss sometimes the fact that government is not the only thing that can make you unfree. Your cable company can make you unfree. Your neighbor can make you unfree. And often good government is about making sure that our freedom is enhanced through good policy intervention. For example, you're not really truly free to live a life of your choosing if you can't assume without even having to think about it that when you turn on the faucet you're going to get a glass of clean, safe drinking water. So infrastructure can enhance freedom, but only if we pool our resources and our intentions together. That's why I'm so excited about infrastructure. I don't believe you are free if somebody else gets to tell you who you ought to marry based on their interpretation of their own religion. So policy is about making sure that that decision is up to you instead. Likewise, the freedom of women to make their own health care choices depends on who is elected and who is appointed. It's the kind of thing that's at stake in an election like this. I believe that our freedom depends in so many ways on the choices that are before us, but the reason we really feel, the space where we really feel those freedoms is in our everyday life. And I'm trying to build up our politics to be more about everyday life. So I have lots of, to be honest, the way my day has worked, the way my week has worked, is that I've been going to different events, Veterans Caucus, South Carolina delegation breakfast, and about 15 other places, giving a variation of a speech about why I think everybody ought to vote for Kamala Harris and Tim Walz, and vote for Democrats. And I could subject you to that because I'm pretty much on autopilot right now. Until I go over to the convention hall right after this and get ready to give the big speech to the convention hall in the country, which I'm really excited for. I also know you are some of the best minds of your generation, and we've got roughly 10 minutes together left. And I don't think you really need to see me stand here and tell you something that you could see me say on television. So I threw a big curveball to your organizers and asked them if it was possible for us maybe just to have a little conversation and take a couple of questions of whatever might be on your mind, either about the process or the country. I can talk about anything except my day job, ironically, because I'm here in a party capacity. I'm not here as a member of the administration, so I can't talk about my favorite subject and geek out on that. I'll have to come back another time and do that. But if there's anything else that just might be interesting for us to talk about, I thought that might be the best use of the next few minutes. So I don't know if there's mics going around, or I'll just ask you to project. Look, there's even mics going around.
We have mics going around, so look for a person with a mic, raise your hand, and they will come to you.
All right. Go ahead.
Hi, I'm Brandon Kelly. I'm from Elgin Community College. I was wondering, I'm running for Elgin City Council.
Awesome.
And I was wondering,
Okay.
what was your biggest inspiration to run for mayor of South Bend, Indiana?
Thanks for asking. So, any of you been to South Bend or from South Bend or know Northern India? All right, good. Fantastic. So a lot of people know of South Bend as the home of the University of Notre Dame, but the real origin of the economy of South Bend was the auto industry. Studebaker was as big as the big three. They stopped making cars in 1963. And yet, when I was growing up there, people were still talking about it. I saw the wreckage of the broken down factories on my way to school every day and didn't even realize that was unusual until later when I left to go to college. And I really didn't like people saying that our hometown didn't have a future. Right around the time I got into the race, there was a national publication of 10 American dying cities, and they said we were one of them. And I just didn't think it had to be that way. And maybe because my generation had the advantage of not even remembering what it was like when the old companies were producing those kinds of jobs, we were also free from the illusion that we could ever turn back the clock and go back to that. And so instead we wanted to build a new economy and a new story. Not one that didn't include manufacturing, but just a different future for our city. And that's what propelled me to run. I'm so excited that you're running too. And wish you all the best in that. Because I think it's really important for a newer generation to be taking these roles. And even though most of the attention tonight's going to be on the presidency, I think it's really important as Americans, and I think it's very important as a Democrat, frankly, that we do a better job of not treating the presidency like it's the only office that matters. So much opportunity, so much power is closer to home. That's where important decisions are made, so best of luck to you in your efforts. Here's one. Yeah. I think so. I don't actually see where the mic... Oh, there it is. Thanks.
Hi, my name is Savannah, and I am a graduate student at the Crown School of Social Work, Social Policy, and Social Administration. Over the past few weeks, I've seen you on, I think, every news channel out there, including Fox. And so I'm wondering, why is it important to you to meet people where they are?
Thanks for asking. I never thought that I would be a Fox News frequent flyer, just so you know. That was not on my bingo card of where my career would go if you'd asked me even a few years ago. But the reason I do it is because I think it's important, as your question suggested, to meet people where they are. And recognize that I can't be mad at somebody for not embracing our message if they've literally never heard it. And the more one-sided a news network is, the less likely they will have heard it unless I literally go there and share it. And I think it's especially true in this election. Because I know a lot of folks who watch Fox News and count on Fox News. I know a lot of people in law enforcement who watch Fox News. And I want to make sure they have at least heard about the fact that violent crime went down after Donald Trump got beat, and are invited to reflect on the fact that Donald Trump is asking them to vote for a convicted felon over a prosecutor. I want them to at least have heard that, maybe more often than they would have. I know veterans who watch Fox News. I want to ask them to consider the difference between a ticket led by somebody who faked a disability, getting a doctor's note, taking advantage of him being a teenage multimillionaire so that he wouldn't have to go to Vietnam and let some working class kid go in his place, and whose own chief of staff revealed that he had described people who served this country as suckers and losers, compared to a ticket led by the administration that delivered the PACT Act that made sure that veterans who I served with in Iraq and Afghanistan downwind of burn pits get the cancer treatment that they need, and also has on it a command sergeant major from the National Guard who spent 24 years in uniform. So, like, you know, people, I always visualize people who I know, who I disagree with, and who I like, who are just maybe tuning in. I don't think they're going to see me on Fox for 5 minutes and see the light and suddenly become liberal Democrats. But I know that we're having a healthier conversation if they've at least heard what somebody like me has to say. Thanks. There's no mic on it. Up here. Okay.
Hi, my name's Aruna Machadri. I go to Whitney Young Magnet High School, and I was born in South Bend.
All right.
My question is that many American voters believe that the Republican Party is traditionally more patriotic. What does patriotism mean to you, and how do you think the Democratic Party can change this sentiment?
Yeah. So, to me, patriotism has to do with a relationship to your country that is not one of uncritical kind of flag waving, my country right or wrong, but rather a commitment to, as I think it was Lincoln put it, my country when right to be kept right and when wrong to be made right. And we serve our country in different ways. I'm proud that I served our country in the military. And I'm equally proud that while I did that, I formed relationships of trust with people who were radically different from me. Different politics, different background, racially different, economically different, geographically different. Pretty much all we had in common was the flag on our shoulder. And yet there were times when on the strength of a handshake and a 45-second briefing, we would get into a vehicle and go outside the wire together. And they could have cared less what country my dad immigrated from, or whether I was a Democrat or Republican, or whether I was going home to a girlfriend or a boyfriend. They just want to know that I could do my job, and likewise in terms of what I thought of them. To me, patriotism is joining in common cause with your fellow Americans to do big things, whether it's in a deployed context or just in the community context. And I think it also means things like taking care of our troops when they come home and long after they have left the service. And I have a whole list of reasons why I think we've done a better job of that in our administration than most. And I think it means making sure that there are no unnecessary wars that put troops on the front line when it could be avoided. Part of how I got into politics, or at least became politically alive, was that experience after 9/11 of seeing the country sold this idea that if you were patriotic, you must be for invading Iraq, even though Iraq had nothing to do with 9/11. And I actually think the patriotic thing to do was to question that political choice that put so many troops in that position over a bunch of propositions that turned out not to be true. It's also why I believe in supporting Ukraine. I actually think it's a remarkable thing that without any American troops on the ground, there is a chance to stand up for democracy by supporting the Ukrainian troops who are holding line against what Vladimir Putin's doing. So that's my idea of patriotism.
Okay, y'all. Unfortunately, Mayor Pete has to hit the road over to the United Center. Hate to do it to you, but that was unfortunately the last question.
Oh, you're getting the hook. I'm getting the hook. All right.
Well,
look.
But that's your Steph's fault. Okay,
right.
Thank you so much. Let's all give it up for Mayor
Thank you
Pete
so much
Jones.
for the chance to join you. Stay involved, stay active. I hope we meet again. Thank you so much.